Have you ever watched a horror movie and thought, no way this actually happened? Well, think again. Some of the most terrifying films ever made were inspired by true events, real hauntings, possessions, and crimes that blurred the line between fact and fiction. In this video, we dive into the haunting tales behind famous horror movies. Let's uncover the dark truths behind the silver screen. First up, the Amityville Horror. Released in 1979, this supernatural classic stars James Brolin and Margot Kidder as George and Kathy Lutz. The film follows the Lutz family as they move into a house in Amityville, New York, only to be tormented by evil forces. The movie was a major success, grossing over $80 million at the box office. It spawned multiple sequels, a 2005 remake starring Ryan Reynolds, and an entire franchise of over a dozen spin-offs and reboots. But the real horror started before the cameras rolled. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered 6 members of his family in that very house. A year later, the Lutz family moved in and claimed they were driven out in just 28 days by demonic forces. Reports included green slime oozing from walls, levitation, cold spots, and swarms of flies. Skeptics called it a hoax. But the Lutzes passed multiple lie detector tests, and the legend stuck, paving way for one of the greatest and scariest haunting movies to grace the silver screen. One of the most iconic horror films of all time is The Exorcist. Released in 1973, directed by William Friedkin, and based on a novel by William Peter Blatty. It stars Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, and Linda Blair as Regan, the possessed girl. The Exorcist became the first horror film nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It won 2 Academy Awards and terrified audiences worldwide. But few people know it was inspired by a real exorcism. In 1949, a boy in Maryland, referred to by the pseudonym Roland Doe, underwent a months-long exorcism performed by Jesuit priests. Witnesses reported beds shaking, words appearing on the boy's skin, and violent outbursts. The church kept the case quiet for years, but Blatty, a Georgetown student at the time, heard rumors and turned the story into a best-selling novel. From the spine-chilling makeup to the cursed production, The Exorcist remains legendary. In 2013, The Conjuring introduced a new generation to paranormal horror. Directed by James Wan, the film stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as real-life demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. It tells the story of the Perron family, who moved into a farmhouse in Rhode Island and experienced a living nightmare. The Conjuring was a massive hit, launching a cinematic universe that includes Annabelle, the Nun, and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. The true story? Just as scary. In the early 1970s, Carolyn and Roger Perron moved into a farmhouse with their 5 daughters. They reported furniture moving on its own, unexplained bruises, and the spirit of a woman named Bathsheba Sherman, a rumored witch who had lived on the property. The Warrens investigated and believed the house was cursed by dark rituals. Even skeptics admitted the family seemed genuinely traumatized. Speaking of the Conjuring universe, let's talk about Annabelle. Released in 2014 and directed by John R. Leonetti, the film explores the cursed doll introduced in The Conjuring. Though the cinematic Annabelle is a creepy porcelain doll, the real one was a Raggedy Ann. In the 1970s, a nursing student received the doll as a gift. Soon after, she and her roommate claimed it moved on its own, left notes, and even tried to strangle a friend. The Warrens investigated and concluded that a demonic entity was using the doll as a conduit. They sealed Annabelle inside a glass case in their occult museum, where it remains to this day, supposedly still dangerous. The movie sparked 2 direct sequels and brought even more attention to the Warrens' haunted collection. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, released in 1974 and directed by Tobe Hooper, is a brutal slasher film about a group of friends who fall victim to a chainsaw-wielding killer named Leatherface. While the film claims to be based on true events, it's actually loosely inspired by a real person, Ed Gein. Gein wasn't from Texas. He lived in Plainfield, Wisconsin. In the 1950s, police discovered that he had exhumed corpses from cemeteries and used their skin and bones to make household items. He also murdered 2 women. Gaines' twisted crimes inspired not just Texas Chainsaw, but also Psycho and the Silence of the Lambs. The film became a cult classic and led to multiple sequels, reboots, and prequels. Its gritty style helped define modern horror. Released in 2009, The Haunting in Connecticut stars Virginia Madsen and Kyle Gallner. It tells the story of the Campbell family, who move into a former funeral home to be closer to their son's cancer treatment center, only to discover the house is haunted. The film is based on the true story of the Snedeker family. In the 1980s, Carmen Snedeker and her family rented a house in Southington, Connecticut. They soon learned it had once been a funeral parlor, complete with embalming equipment still in the basement. The family claimed they experienced terrifying visions, voices, and even possession. Once again, Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in to investigate. Though the film dramatizes events, the family's claims were very real to them. Finally, we have Veronica, a Spanish horror film released in 2017 and directed by Paco Plaza. The film is based on a real case that took place in Madrid in 1991. It follows a teenage girl who uses a Ouija board and becomes possessed by a malevolent spirit. Veronica gained attention for being one of the scariest movies on Netflix, with some viewers claiming they couldn't finish it. The real story involves Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro, a Spanish teenager who reportedly suffered hallucinations and seizures after playing with a Ouija board. Months later, she died under mysterious circumstances. Her parents claimed that paranormal activity continued in their home after her death. Police reports documented strange phenomena, doors opening, shadows moving, and loud noises with no source. Horror movies are meant to scare us, but when they're based on real events, the fear lingers even after the credits roll. Whether it's a haunted house, a cursed doll, or a possession caught on tape, these stories remind us that sometimes the truth is more terrifying than fiction. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and don't look under the bed. And if you like all things horror, then make sure you subscribe to the Monster Legends channel for more regular horror content.